appreciate the opportunity to partner with you and the Kirkland Chamber on this this great program. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the port, and it's exciting to see my former colleague Carrie today again. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity. So I wanted to share a couple of things real quickly. We can get into everything that PSE is doing on the clean energy front and everything, and I think that's a really good topic for conversation. But right now, I think what I'd like to chat about is what's on everybody's mind, which is COVID and the economy, and how are we going to recover from COVID? And frankly, what is PSE? What is your utility doing to help with that? And so I want to share real quickly some numbers. So I'll start with PSE was one of the first utilities in Washington, and really I think the country, to announce that we would not be disconnecting customers for non-payment or collecting late fees. Before the governor's mandate on disconnections, we made that announcement and sought approval from our regulators to not collect late fees. We also designated $11 million to fund a new program that we created in April, excuse me, called the Crisis Affected Customer Assistance Program, which allowed us to directly distribute funds to our customers to help pay their utility bills. Up to this date, we have assisted over 10,000 customers, and the number is actually larger than what you're seeing on that bullet point. It's closer to $7 million in assistance that we have been able to provide, which is really great. And then lastly on here, the PSE Foundation, which is a separate organization but associated with PSE, has recast dollars that we would normally spend or dedicate to emergency and preparedness to provide $400,000 in aid for response and recovery in the COVID pandemic. So all that together, the $11 million is separate, and the $400,000 is separate. But in addition to those funds, we've also, you can see all these numbers in the bubbles across the top. I will note that they don't add up to $2.1 million if you were to add them. There are a couple of things that we weren't able to fit into this slide that we're also participating in. But this is what your local utility is doing. Some of what we're doing to help get through this crisis and hopefully get the economy restarted quickly. But yeah, between PSE Foundation and the company itself, we have contributed more than $2.1 million towards mitigating the impacts of COVID-19. So I wanted to share that and thank you all for everything you're doing in the community. Thank you, Samantha, for everything you're doing to help our local small businesses and help them understand what grants that can be applied for and provide assistance throughout Kirkland and beyond. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I will stop my comments with that and look forward to hearing from the port.
Great. Thank you, David. Before we move over to the port, I just want to give an opportunity for anyone to ask any questions of David. So thank you for that. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to jump in.
And if any questions come up later, feel free to throw them into the chat box. I would be happy to hear any questions and answer them if I can.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, David. And like I said, we are streaming on Facebook Live. This is the first time we have tried this. So I think we've got a pretty good audience for us right now. So I will let you know that we have had a little bit of a programming change for today. So we are going to hear the same presentation from the same Port of Seattle, but it is going to be a different speaker. So we actually have Barb Wilson, who is going to join us in just a moment. But I don't, Carrie, has she joined us just yet? She has. Okay, great. So we will get started with the introduction of Barb Wilson. She has joined the Port of Seattle as Chief of Staff for its 5-member elected body, the Port of Seattle Commission. Wilson brings 25 years of experience in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors in Seattle. Barb worked for 10 years as the Executive Director of the Seattle Planning Commission, where she was responsible for overall operations and advised city officials on complex urban planning and development issues. Prior to that, she was Program Manager for National Wildlife Foundation, worked on regional outreach and advocacy initiatives for the Northwest Energy Coalition, Save Our Wild Salmon Coalition, and developed field strategies for Hands Off Washington. And there's a lot more that I can say about Barb, but I think I will kick it over to her. And welcome, Barb. Thank you so much for presenting to us today.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Samantha, it's great to see you again, and thanks for the intro and the chance to speak to your members today here at the Kirkland Chamber. It's great to see so many familiar faces, David, others. My apologies that Commissioner Cho could not join you today. He had a last-minute unavoidable conflict. I know he's really been looking forward to this since Kirkland is his hometown. So he was really disappointed, but we'll make sure and get him back here to meet with you sometime in the near future. But I'm really honored to be here on his behalf in my new role as Chief of Staff for the Port Commission. And essentially just what that means is, and what I do every day is, you might know that the Port has a commission of 5 elected members elected by King County voters. And as Chief of Staff, it's really my job to run the commission so that the commissioners can do their very essential work as elected officials, including making decisions on the Port's budget, policy matters, and other important official duties. And the commission office, how we do that is by working throughout the Port with the staff and the organization, tracking the latest trends, data, information, and of course, a big part of their time is spent listening to the voters of King County and the broad constituents that have a stake in the Port's activities. Our office helps the commission do this important work. So today, I'd like to share a little bit about the Port, the impacts of COVID, our strategy and response, and how we can continue working together throughout King County. But before I jump into the presentation, I just want to do a little shout out. I know, and all of you know, that Kirkland was, of course, ground zero in Washington for COVID earlier this year. And I want to just take a second to commend the city. I know we have some council members, maybe Mayor Sweets on too. I'm not sure if she joined us. Evergreen Health, so many of you in the private sector, like PSC and others, and of course, Samantha and her team for how this community has really responded to keep people safe and to support local business. So yeah, I just wanted to take that moment to commend all of you. All right, so let's jump in here. And this first slide here really shows how the Port works as a special purpose government for King County. We operate assets of statewide significance that support all of Washington's most critical industries. That's funded in large part through user fees and leases and business revenue. There's also a small tax levy, and that equates to about $72 a year for the median home price. One recent and significant change, as you can see here, is that 5 years ago, we joined forces with the Port of Tacoma here in the region to form the Northwest Seaport Alliance. And the mindset there was really that cooperating with Tacoma versus competing with Tacoma was going to make our seaport much more competitive. And it has resulted in our gateway becoming the 4th largest in North America for international shipping. Oh, you lost my video, sorry. Thank you, Carrie. Okay. So that was one of the major changes that has really worked to help make the port and the region more economically competitive. One thing that I wanted to share, and can we go to the next slide, Carrie, is a question about the port in your everyday life. So when you think about the port, I think a lot of people really see it as a huge driver and platform for the region's economic growth and competitiveness, and that's true. But we're also part of your everyday life, and most of you, whether you know it or not, rely on port products and services every day. And that's one reason why we really emphasize the customer experience at our facilities. It's why we focus on efficiency and productivity and investments, and we really care deeply about your feedback and your experience. So when you engage with us, know that this is your port and you have a right to have high expectations of us. So please reach out to me, please reach out to commissioners and to our office anytime we can help you with any questions about the work that the port does. All right, so as far as port facilities go, we also are a platform for a massive amount of economic activity. And this, one of the central tenets of our mission at the port is economic, really promoting economic prosperity in the region. While the port itself has just under about 2,000 employees, hundreds of individual businesses operate at port facilities, and that employs tens of thousands of workers. Seattle Tacoma International Airport, for example, is one of the region's largest job sites, with more than 300 employers operating on the site. Okay, so to touch on where we are today and the impact that the coronavirus has had on the port and how we've responded in the short term and our work to lead and partner with the region in the long-term recovery, I want to touch on some of the things that are going on for us right now. Obviously, coronavirus has had a major impact, and for the port, it has hit every single business division at the port: the airport, cargo shipping, fishing, the cruise industry, you name it. Just a few statistics for you to think about. In July, the airport served about 75% fewer passengers than we did in 2019. That trend is looking a little better. For weeks and months this year, we were actually down more like 80 to 95% in the number of passengers coming through the airport. Even with the slow return of travelers, we anticipate that the passenger volume will be down 61% for the year in 2020. That's a huge economic challenge for our region because the airport directly supports so many different industries, from tourism and hospitality to ground transportation and aviation. We all really feel the ripple effects from the decline in that activity. Unlike aviation, which has been growing leaps and bounds over the last decade until the coronavirus, international maritime shipping went into the COVID crisis already facing headwinds. Pre-COVID, we started experiencing new competitive pressures due to the trade war with China. And as I already touched on, our effort to compete for market share in North America. Maritime shipping in July was down about 17% over the year. So the next thing I wanted to touch on was cruise. Our cruise season should have opened on April 1st, but the port and the commission made the commitment that the season would not begin until the public health crisis subsides. This has a real impact on jobs in the economy from canceling cruises. The cruise industry in the region, in Seattle's region, creates nearly 900 million in business revenue for the region and supports 5,500 jobs. I mean, just think about all the suppliers who supply food and other supplies to the ships. And the loss of cruise compounds our challenges with the tourism industry, which we all know has created massive challenges for the region here. So many of you have probably read that some cruises have resumed in other parts of the world, and we are closely watching to see the effectiveness of some new practices that are being put into place elsewhere in the world by health agencies as well as the industry. We can't tell you for sure when cruise will reopen here, but we're watching it closely. All right. So this next slide, I think, really does make a really strong point about the reality. This is a chart of airport passenger travel and shows kind of the historical context compared to the current situation. As you can see, 9/11, the Great Recession don't compare to what we're seeing in 2020 due to the coronavirus. The suddenness and severity of the collapse of this activity, it really does not compare to any other crisis we've faced. All right, so that's a flavor of the impact. And now I want to turn the next to the next question is, what are we doing about all this? And we have four main ways that we support the region's response to COVID. The first is immediate financial relief. The Port Commission deferred fees and rents and barred evictions of our tenants, directed port staff to adjust leases and eliminate the airport minimum annual guarantee for airport dining and retail tenants who've been hit very hard by the downturn. We've worked with local partners to increase support for small businesses and impacted workers. We are also supporting the region through spending and investment. While the port did immediately reduce its spending by 20%, we're also really looking at where we can prioritize maintaining our construction spending because of how powerfully it impacts the regional economy. And because, quite frankly, we do expect that trade and travel will continue and that we will emerge and need to really continue our strong investments at the airport, where we were seeing exponential growth. So we are, you may or may not know this, but we're one of the largest public sector builders in the region, and our construction projects provide a major boost to the local economy. And we do really recognize how critical these investments are to people right now. Construction jobs at the port support 1,300 full and part-time workers on average per month. The commission agreed that we should move forward with approximately 20 projects that are already underway, and that's worth about $1.5 billion of investment. The projects are designed to significantly improve your experience as travelers and the efficiency of our operations. So while we are accelerating some projects, we're also postponing others, like the new cruise terminal we proposed for Terminal 46 while we assess the market conditions. So we're trying to make smart investments in the future that have great impact on the economy and jobs. So the other thing I want to highlight is partnerships with the port. Throughout King County, the port partners with local communities on both tourism and economic development grants, including with the city of Kirkland. Between the two programs, tourism and our economic development grants, between those two programs since 2017, we've already awarded $200,000 to Kirkland in grants. Grant funds have supported things like the Innovation Triangle, funds to support Startup 425 and Restartup 425. In 2020, through Restartup 425, 479 Eastside businesses have been supported, 178 of which are in Kirkland. And we launched the 10 Business Innovation Lab Accelerator. In 2019, the city of Kirkland was awarded a tourism marketing grant to promote Kirkland as a destination in the region through the explorekirkland.com website. So we really do look forward to continuing to work with Kirkland through future rounds of grants and partnerships. We see this as a critical function of strongly supporting our communities and our partners. All right, so speaking of tourism, you might be thinking about flying somewhere soon. Or you might be holding back and waiting to see when it's safe. And I think many of us are faced with, when is it going to be safe to fly again? So safely operating our gateways it's really a critical way for the port to lead the region's recovery. We want everyone to know the steps that we're taking to keep the community safe. This has been a very, very high priority for the port. And as you can imagine, there's no silver bullet to stop the coronavirus. So what we've done at the airport is we've really layered in multiple safety measures through our Fly Healthy at SCA program. And as part of that, we began requiring face coverings at the airport on May 18th. All airlines also require masks. And what we've found from our recent analysis is that we have a 93% compliance in the terminal. So we're doing pretty well. We're striving for 100%, but we are working very hard to provide face coverings, to work with the airlines, and to really focus on masks. We've installed more than 200 plastic barriers and other measures to support physical distancing. We're adding more touchless technology, 250 new hand sanitizer stations, and every day we're working closely with health leaders and on all the possible health screening and technology solutions. And you probably have heard that there's a lot of talk around rapid testing and other measures that may allow for a higher degree of certainty when people are choosing to fly. 85% of our dining and retail tenants are open, and when you visit the airport, you'll see changes there as well for safety. All right, so the last thing I really want to touch on is, obviously coronavirus is not the only crisis in our community today. equity and inclusion are a very important topic of the community that has grown in importance and focus for everyone, I believe. And the commission has been working really diligently to explore and address systemic racism. The community and the county are looking within our justice system, in law enforcement, at our workplaces, in our housing and neighborhoods, in our schools. And right now, you really cannot ignore inequity, and our commission and the port broadly has committed to making our organization more equitable, particularly as a source that can create opportunity, and as a neighbor and as an employer. So the port has already started working to tackle issues. Like many cities around us, we're assessing our own Port of Seattle Police Department. Some people don't know we have a police department, but we have convened a task force on port policing and civil rights. Additionally, we updated our strategic plan, the Century Agenda, and have added an equity lens and for organizational performance. And we're currently in the process of finalizing those objectives and goals. So we take that very seriously, and it's been a major topic at the organization in my short time at the port. So I think I'll wrap it up there. And in closing, like most of you, you can tell we have a lot on our plate right now. We're in our 2021 budget planning process. The commission's goal is to ensure that our budget priorities and investments will focus on the greatest need and potential. And obviously, we value our partners. We value all of you, City of Kirkland, the Kirkland Chamber, and all the King County communities that the commission and the port represent. So we're really interested to hear more about the challenges you're facing, how you're addressing them, and how you think we can partner with all of you. So I'll stop there, and thank you for your time today.
All right. Thank you so much, Barb. We appreciate your presentation. Would you mind sticking around and taking a few questions if we have any questions that have come up?
Sure. And luckily, I have Carrie Pravitz here, who can fill in anywhere that me as a newbie may not have all the answers. But yeah, happy to take your questions.
Wonderful. Okay, so just chime in. We've got quite a few people. I'm also monitoring Facebook because we're live on Facebook with quite a few people there too. So if you have a question, you can either chime in or put it in chat. I'll give you just a minute to think of anything.
Samantha, I don't have a question. I have a comment, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Barb Wilson, for a nice presentation. I've been a consultant to the City of Kirkland's Economic Development Program for a number of years, and I'm quite involved in a couple of things you did a nice overview of, including Startup 425 and the Innovation Triangle. I just want to thank you and the commissioners for several years of support. I think it all started with Commissioner Stephanie Bowman several years back, where she had the brainchild of coming up with the Economic Development Partnership Program for all the cities in King County. And Kirkland, with Toby Nixon's encouragement, Councilmember Toby Nixon's encouragement, jumped right on it and have been the beneficiary of that for a long time. And one of the things I'm most excited about, you mentioned the Innovation Lab. This is a very new initiative. It launched last Thursday. It's in conjunction with Bellevue College. It's a free, basically mini MBA program. It has 7 modules over 7 weeks. It's designed to help existing businesses grow and scale, and is very heavily revised to deal with the challenges presented by COVID-19 And we've seeded 10 businesses in that program. And to a business, the owners are either a minority or a woman. And so I just wanted to share that with the crew, and thank you again for all your support. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Duncan. Any other questions or comments for Barb or even for David? Anything that has come up during this presentation? All right, well, hearing none, thank you so much, Barb, for your time. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, David from Puget Sound Energy, for sponsoring this event. We will get the PowerPoint from the Port of Seattle, and for those of you who registered for this, we will be sending that out so that you can have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. So thank you again for participating today, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to getting Commissioner Cho back here, because I know he really wants to connect with you all.
We would love that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Samantha.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks,
You
Samantha.
as well.
Thanks, everybody.